Since the dawn of humanity, intimacy was never meant to be just a physical act. It was a sacred bond that intertwined body, soul, and spirit. Yet today, it is often reduced to fleeting pleasure. Have we lost sight of its deeper purpose? Well, stick till the end to find out what truly happens on a spiritual level. Spirituality teaches us that intimacy is not just a physical connection, but a deep spiritual and emotional bond. Every intimate encounter leaves a lasting mark, shaping a person's heart, mind, and soul. From the very beginning, nature created intimacy with a divine purpose. Intimacy is meant to unite two people in a way that goes beyond the physical. It is a merging of lives, thoughts, emotions, and even spiritual connections. When intimacy is experienced within marriage, it strengthens love, trust, and commitment, building a foundation for a stable and fulfilling relationship. However, when intimacy is taken lightly or misused, it can lead to pain, brokenness, and spiritual struggles. Many people today see intimacy as just a way to fulfill personal desires, but they forget the deep consequences it can bring. We can see many examples of how misusing intimacy led to suffering, both for individuals and even entire nations. When people step outside of this design for intimacy, they often find themselves trapped in emotional pain, struggling with feelings of regret, guilt, and emptiness. This is because intimacy was never meant to be casual. It was meant to be sacred, a special bond that brings joy, security, and unity between a husband and wife. Today, many struggle with broken relationships, emotional wounds, and feelings of unworthiness because they have treated intimacy as something casual rather than something sacred. Intimacy should be honored and respected, not taken lightly. When people ignore this, they often experience emotional and spiritual pain that affects not only their personal lives, but also their relationships with others. Even though many have made mistakes in the area of intimacy, the good news is that you can be healed. This means that no matter how far someone has strayed, they can find healing and a fresh start. Many people carry deep wounds from past relationships, struggling with guilt, shame, or regret. Through faith, anyone can experience renewal and restoration. When people honor intimacy, they experience peace, joy, and a stronger connection with their spouse. Marriage is meant to be a reflection of love, a bond built on love, trust, and mutual respect. By choosing to follow these principles, people can break free from emotional pain and build relationships that are strong, meaningful, and filled with His blessings. If anyone has struggled in this area, they should know that love is greater than any mistake. Intimacy is meant to be a beautiful and meaningful experience that strengthens relationships. However, when it is reduced to just a physical act without commitment, it often leads to emotional wounds, confusion, and a deep sense of emptiness. Many people engage in casual relationships, believing they are avoiding complications, but over time they may experience emotional detachment, insecurity, and difficulty in forming deep connections. Intimacy was never meant to be a temporary pleasure. It is designed to create a lasting bond between two people. When this bond is formed and then broken repeatedly, it leaves behind scars that make it hard to trust or fully commit to another person in the future. Intimacy is not just for pleasure, but for the strengthening of marriage. In a healthy relationship built on love and commitment, intimacy fosters security, trust, and emotional stability. When two people share a deep connection within the boundaries of marriage, they experience true fulfillment, not just in a physical sense, but also in emotional and spiritual ways. However, when people engage in intimacy without commitment, they often find themselves feeling used and unfulfilled. They may try to convince themselves that they are in control, but deep down, they may struggle with feelings of emptiness, regret, or longing for something deeper. True satisfaction in intimacy is not found in momentary pleasure, but in the deep unity designed for marriage. This unity goes beyond physical attraction. It is about two people becoming one in heart, mind, and spirit. A relationship that follows the design for intimacy is filled with love, purpose, and emotional security. In contrast, relationships that are built only on physical attraction tend to be unstable, leading to heartbreak and emotional turmoil. Many people who engage in casual intimacy find themselves trapped in cycles of short-lived relationships, constantly searching for something more meaningful, but never quite finding it. This is because intimacy was never meant to be just a physical experience. It is a sacred bond that involves the heart and soul. From the very beginning, intimacy was established as a sacred act, not just for the pleasure of a couple, but for the continuation of humanity. Intimacy is not only about personal satisfaction, but also about the responsibility of bringing new life into the world. The ability to create and nurture life is one of the greatest gifts nature has given to humanity. When intimacy is experienced within the boundaries of a loving, committed marriage, it leads to the formation of strong families where children can grow up in a stable and nurturing environment. Unfortunately, in today's world, many people have lost sight of the divine purpose of intimacy. With the rise of casual relationships and a culture that promotes self-gratification, the true meaning of intimacy has been distorted. Many people engage in relationships without considering the long-term impact of their actions, and as a result, children are often born into unstable or broken homes. When intimacy is treated lightly, it can lead to unintended consequences such as unplanned pregnancies, broken families, and emotional distress for both parents and children. Intimacy includes not only love and unity, but also the responsibility of raising children in an environment where they feel safe, loved, and guided. A spiritual marriage provides the perfect foundation for raising children. In such a relationship, both parents work together to nurture and guide their children, teaching them values of love, respect, and faith. When intimacy is respected, it strengthens the family unit, creating a legacy of faith and stability for future generations. However, when intimacy is misused, it often results in heartbreak, strained relationships, and children growing up without the emotional support they need. Many spiritual books emphasize the fact that intimacy should not be taken lightly because it has a direct impact on the future of families and society as a whole. By honoring it, couples can experience not just happiness, but also the blessing of building a strong and loving family. Spirituality presents intimacy within marriage as a divine gift that protects individuals from temptation and moral disorder. In today's world, where immorality is widely accepted and promoted, many have strayed away. The enemy has twisted intimacy into something purely physical, reducing it to an act of personal gratification. This has led to an increase in pornography, prostitution, and unhealthy relationships that lack real love and commitment. Instead of intimacy being a sacred and beautiful experience, it has become something that is often misused, leaving many people feeling empty and disconnected. Every act of intimacy creates an emotional and spiritual tie between two people. When this bond is formed outside of marriage, it can lead to deep emotional pain and confusion. Many people who engage in casual relationships find themselves struggling to move on from past experiences because they have unknowingly formed connections that are hard to break. This is why so many people experience heartbreak, regret, and emotional struggles after engaging in relationships that were not built on love and commitment. When intimacy is honored within the boundaries of marriage, it serves as a protection against temptation. A strong, loving relationship built on trust and faithfulness creates a sense of security and fulfillment that makes outside temptations less appealing. In contrast, when people seek intimacy outside nature's law, they often find themselves caught in cycles of addiction, dissatisfaction, and emotional pain. The world promotes a view of intimacy that is centered on pleasure without responsibility, but this only leads to broken relationships and heartache. The question we must ask ourselves is, are we living intimacy according to the nature or according to the world's standards? Many people believe that nature's plan for intimacy is restrictive, but in reality, it is freeing. When intimacy is experienced in the way it is intended, it brings joy, peace, and a sense of fulfillment that cannot be found in temporary pleasures. It is not meant to limit us, it is meant to protect us from harm and lead us to true happiness. Emotional and spiritual bonds are powerful, unseen connections that form when two people become intimately involved. These connections are not limited to physical attraction. They deeply influence the mind, emotions, and spirit, shaping a person's thoughts, feelings, and decisions. Many struggle to move on from past relationships, not just because of memories, but because these bonds extend beyond the physical. When intimacy is shared, something deeper is created, an invisible tie that does not simply vanish when the relationship ends. This attachment manifests in different ways. Some experience an overwhelming sense of emotional obsession, where thoughts of a former partner dominate their minds, making it nearly impossible to focus on anything else. Even when they recognize that the relationship was unhealthy, the emotional connection refuses to fade. Others find themselves unable to fully invest in new relationships, constantly comparing each new partner to someone from their past. In some cases, a lingering emptiness settles in, a quiet but persistent feeling of sadness, as if something valuable has been lost. For some, this loss leads to regret and guilt, a mental weight that makes moving forward seem impossible. There are also those who remain bound to toxic relationships, not because they are unaware of the damage, but because the emotional tie is too strong to break. On a spiritual level, many experience a loss of peace, an increase in anxiety, or a sense of emotional heaviness without fully understanding why. These struggles serve as a reminder that intimacy is more than a physical act. It creates lasting bonds that affect every aspect of a person's well-being. The reason these bonds are so difficult to break is because intimacy is not merely biological. The human mind stores memories, and emotions become intertwined with shared experiences. Familiar places, scents, songs, or even certain words can trigger a flood of emotions, bringing back moments that feel as real as the day they happened. While time may soften the sharpness of those memories, the bond does not immediately dissolve. For those who have had multiple intimate partners without deep commitment, the effects can be even more complicated. Emotional ties accumulate, creating a sense of fragmentation, as if the heart is divided between several past connections. The result is a lingering sense of emotional unrest, where the past continually interferes with the present, making it difficult to fully embrace new relationships. Beyond the emotional consequences, bad intimacy can also open doors to deeper spiritual struggles. Sexual sin does not only affect the body, it has far-reaching consequences in the spiritual realm. Many who engage in intimacy without commitment experience an underlying sense of confusion, anxiety, and even a loss of purpose. It is not uncommon for those who have lived outside of this structure plan to wrestle with internal torment, recurring emotional battles, and a lingering sense of dissatisfaction that refuses to go away. Some struggle with persistent negative thoughts, feeling as though something unseen is holding them back from spiritual growth. Others carry a deep sense of guilt that does not fade, no matter how much they try to suppress it. There are also those who feel an unexplainable resistance when they attempt to move forward in faith, as if they are being weighed down by past decisions. While many may dismiss these experiences as purely psychological, the truth is that when the natural principles regarding purity and holiness are ignored, The consequences extend beyond what is visible. Unlike other sins, which may primarily affect the mind or external actions, sexual immorality has a direct and profound impact on one's body, soul, and spirit. While some might argue that other sins, such as gluttony or drunkenness, also affect the body, none do so as deeply, extensively, or destructively as sexual immorality. The consequences are not just physical. They reach into the core of a person's identity, affecting their emotional stability, spiritual clarity, and relational well-being. Repeated intimacy without commitment can also make it increasingly difficult to build stable, meaningful relationships. When trust is broken time and time again, the heart learns to protect itself by avoiding deep emotional investment. This often results in a fear of commitment, where even the thought of long-term stability feels overwhelming. Some find themselves trapped in a cycle of unstable relationships, constantly moving from one connection to the next without ever finding true fulfillment. For others, the emotional ties from past relationships make it impossible to fully embrace a new partner, as comparisons and unresolved feelings continue to interfere. Over time, the repeated breaking of emotional bonds can lead to a kind of desensitization, where the ability to form deep, meaningful connections becomes weaker. Even those who crave love and intimacy may find themselves struggling with a sense of dissatisfaction, as if no relationship is ever enough. The consequences of intimacy outside of nature's design are not new. The world often promotes intimacy as something casual and without consequences, but the reality is far different. Every intimate encounter leaves a mark, shaping the way a person experiences love, trust, and commitment. Many who have lived outside this later realize the damage it has caused. Some struggle with regret, broken trust, and the inability to fully connect with a new partner. Others find themselves lost, disconnected from their own emotions, and unable to experience true joy. What once seemed like freedom often leads to deeper emotional and spiritual burdens, making it clear that the order was never meant to limit or punish, but rather to protect and bring true fulfillment. Despite these struggles, there is hope. No matter how many emotional or spiritual bonds a person has formed in the past, nature offers healing and restoration. Through repentance and a genuine desire, anyone can break free from unhealthy ties and experience a renewed sense of peace. Seeking forgiveness and praying for emotional and spiritual healing can help loosen the grip of past relationships, bringing clarity and a fresh start. Choosing to live according to nature's principles allows a person to experience intimacy as it was meant to be, within the security of a committed, loving relationship. Surrounding oneself with positive influences and striving for purity can also help in building stronger, healthier connections based on trust and respect. When intimacy is honored within the boundaries of marriage, it becomes a source of joy, stability, and deep emotional connection. It strengthens commitment, builds trust, and fosters a relationship that is grounded in love and faithfulness. While the world may promote a different view of intimacy, those who choose to honor this in their relationships will experience love and peace that far surpasses anything the world can offer. If you believe in the power of divine love, comment "faithful" below. Let's walk this path with purpose. When a person engages in actions that go against their own spiritual, emotional, and physical well-being, the consequences are inevitable. Adultery is not just a betrayal of marriage, it disrupts the very core of a person's soul. The weight of such a decision does not simply rest on the surface, it penetrates deeply, affecting one's inner peace, personal integrity, and spiritual health. Guilt and shame settle in, robbing a person of joy and filling their spirit with unrest. Beyond internal struggles, the damage extends outward. Adultery can cause a loss of respect and reputation. Those who engage in it often find themselves alienated, facing rejection from loved ones and distrust from the people around them. Marriages break, friendships dissolve, and the social standing of the person is forever altered. While some may believe they can keep their actions hidden, the truth has a way of surfacing. Even in cases where adultery remains undiscovered, the emotional toll weighs heavy. The burden of deception, the fear of exposure, and the deep-seated regret create an emotional prison that can be difficult to escape. This truth reshapes the way we view intimacy. It is not just a physical act, but a sacred experience. Living in sanctification is not just about avoiding sin. It is about aligning every decision you take. For those who have already fallen into immorality, there is still hope. No past mistake is beyond His power to redeem. While emotional ties can feel overwhelming, they are not irreversible. Breaking free requires intentional steps. The first step is to recognize the connection, understanding that intimacy is not just physical but also affects the soul and spirit. The second is to seek healing and restoration, turning to prayer and genuine repentance to release the weight of past decisions. The third is to renew the mind and emotions, avoiding thoughts that keep the past alive and focusing on the new purpose. The fourth is to set healthy boundaries, staying away from situations that could reactivate emotional ties. Lastly, it is crucial to value intimacy according to the original design, understanding that it was meant to be a source of love, commitment, and blessing within marriage. The world has distorted the meaning of intimacy, reducing it to momentary pleasure without responsibility. But Scripture teaches us that every intimate experience leaves a mark, whether for good or for harm. Are we approaching intimacy according to nature, or are we ignoring and suffering the consequences of our choices? The good news is that a new beginning is always possible. Let me know your thoughts in the comments, and if you found this helpful, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more value-rich content. See you in the next episode.